Methodist who just played that beautiful music, Irene Yaki. Can you make her a good word? Thank you, Irene. She's here every Sunday. Come and see her anytime. Thank you, Irene, for getting us started so very well. I'm Jeff Smith. I'm the pastor here at Bremen United Methodist Church. And I want to welcome all you bridge builders who come here to be in worship with us today. But even more than that, I want to thank you for being the kind of people that are willing to build bridges between Jesus and the lost. That's who we are and what we do and what we're all about here. So if you're one of those, you're in the right place. We've got a lot going on today, and I'm going to get kind of cut to the chase. But you come on a very special Sunday. We're going to recognize some people who have hit particular milestones in their lives, and we'll say more about that in just a little bit. Next weekend is Memorial Day weekend, so I want to wish all of those of you who are traveling for Memorial Day weekend safe travels and be safe and take care of business and look out. But go and have fun because it's going to be a great time. It's supposed to be a really good weekend too and beautiful. So we'll keep you in our prayers for travel mercies. All right. Do we have any announcements this morning that we need to go into? One announcement that I want to make is that our ongoing Pizza at the Parsonage has been a great ministry. It was a lot of fun. We had, I think, 30 kids last Tuesday. But this coming Tuesday is our last one because, believe it or not, we're heading towards the end of May and school's almost out. So we won't have Pizza at the Parsonage after Tuesday. But stay tuned. Keep checking the webpage. Keep checking the bulletins because we will have pizza in the park a couple times this summer. We're going to make sure that happens. So if you're a high school student, it's coming your way. Coming to a park near you this summer. All right. I'd like to invite you all to rise and greet each other in the peace of Christ. Good morning.
Hi, Lydia. What's up, girl?
You can see my butt.
That's okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, I enjoy it. And we're starting. We have this is what we do. All the season.
Great Sunday morning. Glad you're all here. As is our tradition, my friends, God is good. All the time. Do me a favor. You're remain standing and let us worship together. That's really cool with us. We're just glad you're here. So now let's prepare to go deeper into worship. Lord, we give you thanks for these blessings, these many ways that you have blessed us so richly and so completely. We thank you for all the things that you do for us, things that we might not even notice because they're so subtle yet so powerful. So for all those blessings, we give you thanks. We lift up these your tithes and our offerings as a token of our gratitude and our love and respect for you, that you have done all of these things, that you are who you say you are, and that you do what you say you're going to do. And all of God's people said, Amen.
Amen.
We are so blessed with all the rich talent that we have here at Bremen United Methodist Church, and today we're going to share a little bit of that with you with Miranda Starkey, and she's going to sing a song for us that I'd like you to really listen to these lyrics and these words, because they are lyrics and words that can transform your life. They're lyrics and words that can set you free. So are you ready? Let's continue to worship.
Ashamed of what I've done, what I've become. These hands are dirty. I dare not lift them up to the Holy One. You plead my cause, you right my wrongs, you break my chains, you overcome, you gave your life to give me mine. You say that I am free. How can it be? How can it be? I've been hiding, afraid I've let you down. Inside I doubt that you still love me, but in your eyes there's only grace now. Life
God's people said.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Miranda. Awesome works, don't you think? How can it be? And you've ever felt your back against the wall when it just seems like all is hopeless, and then you get that sense of peace when Jesus floods into your life? If you've not experienced that, you can. It's within your grasp. So we're here to talk about that today and every day. So keep that in mind as we go forward in worship today. Now we come to a moment that's a little out of the usual, and yet it's a moment of celebration and joy. So I'd like to invite Todd Keller to come forward, and all of those of you that have reached a significant milestone surrounding a graduation, I'd like you to come on down right now. Now, I noticed that a lot of y'all sat up at the balcony. Too bad. Come on down. And as they do, here's what I'd like to say. I'd like to share a story with you as they come down, a story from my family that Rhonda has a aunt that we just thought was precious. She was one of our favorite people in the whole world. And she was raised in a way that at least during her married years and adult years, where significant days weren't overly recognized, like birthdays, for example. And so her daughter and son-in-law threw her this surprise birthday, and she was so delighted. And come on, keep coming. She was so delighted because when she had this birthday, it was just like it was a celebration of her and her life and her experience. So we can't let these milestone moments go by, right? We can't do that. So today, we're going to celebrate one of these milestone moments in the lives of the young people you see on the chancel before you. We're going to do that today. Now, I have a request of all of you. All right? I know I'm springing this on you, but it's not tough. Trust me. It's not like physics. Okay? Here's what I'd like you to do. I want you to think about this for a moment. Todd and I are going to give you a gift and wish you well in your future and all that. But here's what I'd like you to do. I'm not going to ask you to tell us where you're going and what your future plans are, because those are those handy-dandy little brochures that you have. But what I would like you to do for me is to tell me in a sentence or two about a mentor that was important to you in your life and why that was, what that person did for you. You don't have to name a name if you don't want to, but think a little bit about that. Tell me about a mentor. Tell us about a mentor that helped you be where you are today. Got it? Ready? And after that, we'll do the physics quiz, okay? All right. All right. Seniority box, doesn't it? Seniority. No, I think we have to go with seniority. So, Mitch, congratulations. So, what do you think?
Just all my mentors just being able to help me out, guide me through, give me advice, and help me get to graduating college and looking for a job now.
Okay, very good. All right. Next, Mira.
Obviously my parents have been great mentor for me, but through the church especially, Mrs. Huff and just from the impact on.
Okay. So parents, impact, and Mrs. Huff. All right. Thank you, Chelsea. Congratulations. All right. Eric, what do you think?
Most of my mentors are my parents and Coach Campbell. He's helped me a lot through wrestling and through my life.
All right. All right. So your parents and Coach Campbell. All right. Did you know you were a mentor? Did you know that?
It happens sometimes.
Sometimes it happens, doesn't it? All right. All right. Ben, what do you think?
So, like Chelsea said, my parents especially always give me guidance and support in all that I do.
Yeah.
And also Mr. Starkey up there.
Mr. Starkey.
Yeah, he's been with me a lot, whether it be in Boy Scouts or sports or just church in general. We've had a lot of experiences together. Just rubbed off on me a little bit.
Very good. Okay, so your parents and Mr. Starkey up there. Did you think you were a mentor?
It was an honor.
Yeah, good. Excellent. All right. What do you think? Mentor.
My parents and Mr. Starkey, Mr. Campbell.
Parents, Mr. Starkey, and Mr. Campbell. You guys are going good. You got a thing going. Congratulations and God bless. All right. Okay, your turn. What do you think?
I might have to go with my mom.
Your mom?
We go to Adventure Club.
Well, I see since your dad is 2 for 2 so far, I think your mom is 2 for 1. I noticed you didn't say yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe coming. Okay. All right. Others? Okay. Adventure Club, mom and dad. Okay. Well, congratulations, Zach, and God bless in your future. All right.
Probably my parents and just my school allowing me to have all the experiences I have.
So your parents and the school for allowing you to have all the experiences you have. Okay. Very good. You bet. Congratulations, Kenzie. Congratulations to all of you. Let's give them a round of applause, shall we? You're welcome to sit in the front row in the seat of honor, or you can go back to where you were, whichever you prefer, all right? Thanks, guys. Thank you so much. Let's thank them one more time. Thank you. Congratulations. All right. Our hymn this morning is called Pass It On, and we picked it specifically for this day to go along with this celebration moment that we've just had. So I'd like you to turn there now in your hymnals to page 572, and let's lift up our voices in praise. Come on, standing, let's sing together. I'd like to dismiss the children now, the kids on worship. So you're welcome to go down and do that now. Stay with parents, whichever you prefer. And if you would you please pray with me as we set the table for worship this morning. First of all, this morning, Lord, I'd like to ask you for traveling mercies. Again, for all those who will be traveling next week for Memorial Day weekend, please keep them safe and send your traveling angels to bless them and guard them. Also, someone very special and near and dear to the life of our church, we'd like you to send those angels to Abby Campbell as she travels from Washington, D.C. back to here on the last leg of her trip home from Zambia. We're looking forward to hearing all about that, and I know that she'll be overjoyed to share that experience with us, and oh, how wonderful it'll be when we have her safe back here, but also sharing the joy of ministry that she has. So we're grateful for Abby and her servant's heart. We also lift up those who are homebound and not able to be here either because they're in nursing homes or they just can't get here. We ask you to extend to them the love that is in the church, the body of Christ for them. Even though they can't physically be here, they're here in spirit. We feel their presence. So Lord, we thank you. We ask you to bless the preaching of this word, that it might come directly from you. It might be my lips and my lungs, the air in my lungs that expel them, but may they be your words. We ask this in Jesus' precious name. And all of God's people said, Amen. I asked the students to talk about mentors for a very specific reason. I asked them to do that because I think it's important today that we talk about the people in our lives that have been special to us, and for whatever reason they are. And I talk about those people that God places in our lives, and if we allow them to, if we have a teachable spirit and a degree of humility, they can make all the difference, right? Now, I know that probably all of you, if I could ask you to just close your eyes and picture that one person in your head, in your mind's eye, that did that for you, that was that person for you, that you could do that, couldn't you? You could think, it probably wouldn't take you long to come up with one face and one name and one experience or two of folks that transformed your life, that helped you get from where you are, the potential human being, to the one you became. If you don't mind, I'd like to tell you about one of those people in my life. Now, if you are a Purdue Boilermaker basketball fan, it could be that this name might sound familiar to you. Or if you're really good at Trivial Pursuit, if you're one of those kind of people. And the name is Danny Thornburg. Now, if you followed Purdue Boilermaker basketball, you might know that name because Danny Thornburg was a starting guard for the Purdue Boilers. Now, if you're struggling to think of that name and think, oh gosh, I don't remember, who is this guy? I can't. Well, fear not, because Danny Thornburg played for the Boilers in the late 50s. Right? And friends, that was even before my time. Right? It was back a ways. So, he played for the Boilers in the 50s, and you might ask, okay, so how does this guy from the 1950s Big Ten have an impact on my life? Well, he was my father's best friend, and he knew me before I was even me. He was there from the very beginning. He watched and participated as my brothers and I grew up. So knowing him, Danny Thornburg forever, right? Now, the thing about Danny Thornburg is that he was a teacher. That's what he went to Purdue and studied and became. He became a teacher, and he taught government, he taught history, and toward the end of his career, he taught advanced literature to the gifted and talented class at the school that he taught at. And he was a very, very gifted teacher. Now, the thing is that he taught at a different school corporation than we went to, so I never had him as a teacher, but I got to see firsthand his giftedness as a teacher in that during the summers, he worked for my dad, who was a contractor, and he would work for my dad to pick up a few extra bucks during the summer, mostly because he was just one of those guys that always liked to keep busy. You know the kind, right? So that's how I really got to know Danny Thornburg. I got to know him as Danny as opposed to that guy who was my dad's friend. And over those summers when I was in high school and middle school, getting to know him was I'd love to tell you it was a joy. But it wasn't always a joy. Because Danny Thornburg had this reputation. And the people that went to the school that he taught at, it was a fearsome reputation. He had a reputation as a guy, as a teacher that had exacting standards, and he set high expectations for his students, and he expected them to do their very best to reach those expectations, to meet them. And he was serious about it. And you know the type, right? He was one of those kind of guys. And while I didn't experience that as a student in a high school classroom, I sure noticed it on the construction site. While he was a gifted teacher and he would share anything in terms of knowledge or that kind of thing, he would do it gladly. He also was the kind of guy that did not suffer fools gladly. You know what I mean? So he kept you on your toes, whether in the classroom or whether on the work site. Now you might ask, okay, so what is it about this guy that they talk about him today as a mentor? Well, Danny was the kind of guy that he loved reading, and he was passionate about what he would read. And he was the kind of person who would pursue knowledge not as a practical means to an end, although it often led him there, but just for the sake of knowledge in and of itself. That was precious to him. And I think, looking back on it now, that he probably saw that in me too. That I was an avid reader, that I was a curious kind of kid, and he helped to bring that out in me. And in fact, I would say that Danny Thornburg was my first mentor. Now, the thing about mentors, and I noticed a lot of you guys, most of you in fact, said that your mentors were your parents. And there are things that parents give us in our lives that are irreplaceable, that nobody but parents can give us. Amen? So all of those of you who have been children before, raise your hands. That would be all of you. Come on, get them up. Right? And you could probably, most of you say that about your parents. And all of those of you who have been parents of your children, if your children say that about you, that's really cool, and that's the way things should be. That's all right and proper, right? But you know, there are some things that we need to learn from life that either our parents can't give us because it's not part of their skill set or their tradition or background, or because for whatever reason we can't hear it from them. Right? And those of you that raise children, you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Yeah? When our son Jared was probably 13 or 14, there were times I would go to my brother Jerry and say, hey, would you talk to him about this? Because I knew he would listen to my brother or he would tell me to pound sand pretty much, right? That's just the way it is, right? That's just the way it is with parents and children sometimes. And so that's why we need mentors, we need good coaches, and we need people that can give us good advice in our lives outside of our parents. So you guys up there, and you guys here in down here in the bottom, when you go off to the next phase of your journey, look for those people. Because when they come into your life, they are a gift from God. They are a gift from God, which brings me back to Mr. Thornburg. I think that one of the things that Mr. Thornburg taught his students, and one of the things I learned from him too, was that life can be really, really difficult. It can be really, really challenging. And when it becomes really challenging and difficult, we've got two choices. We can pony up and deal with it, or we can take a hike and run the other way. Right? Those are really the only two options. Because even choosing not to act is a decision. Right? So what Mr. Thornburg taught his students, and over the years, while Delaware County is not the biggest county in the state, it's small enough that while he might have taught in a different school corporation, his reputation was well known to my brothers and me, his fearsome reputation as a demanding teacher. But what he taught his students, and what he taught me, was that when you face one of those challenges, hard is good. Hard is good. Life is hard, but hard is good. Because those challenges and experiences that we face in life, they shape us. And they form us. And they sharpen and strengthen us. So when you face one of those times, one of those daunting challenges in your life, remember those words. Hard is good. Those words can transform your life. Those words can change your whole worldview. They can change everything. And some of those students over the years that I've met that had Danny Thornburg as a teacher, when I would talk to them about him, they would all say pretty much the same thing. They would say, one, that yeah, he was hard. But that he was fair. Yes, he was demanding. But it was never in a bullying or a domineering way. It was in a way that was always meant to bring out the very best in you. And when those people come into your life, embrace them, because it is a gift from God. Now, so far, I've told you a story from my history, and you might be tempted to say, well, so what? You know, that was your story. That's great. But would you like to hear what Jesus says about hard is good? Would you like to hear that? Well, I'd like to share with you a passage from Mark's Gospel where Jesus talks very explicitly about the fact that hard is good. So from the 8th chapter of Mark, starting with verse 31, Jesus is talking to his disciples, his students, who have come to know that Jesus is very demanding. He's hard, but he's fair. They come to know that he expects an awful lot out of them, but it's for their good. And they're still trying to learn and grasp their arms around these lessons that Jesus taught. And this is one of those times where the disciples are trying to figure him out. So they're all together, and Jesus begins to teach them. And here's what he says. Jesus began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected by the elders, the chief priests, the teachers of the law, and that he must be killed and after 3 days rise again. Jesus spoke plainly about this, and Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. All right? Now let's pause for a second. Can you picture this scene? Now here's this, they've got this ministry thing going, and they're rocking it. I mean, they are really turning it out really well, because they've got all these huge crowds that are coming around to see them and to hear Jesus preach, and they're hanging on every word. They've got a really good thing going, and with the model of success in ministry, they're thinking, oh, we got this knot. And then Jesus begins to teach these words and say these things about how this is all going to come crashing down, because in the end, I'm going to get the axe. And Peter, can you picture this? Peter takes him aside and says, Jesus, I'm going to ixnay on some of this crucifixion stuff. Right? And who can blame Peter? Right? Jesus, you're being kind of a buzzkill here, right? You're kind of putting a damper on the party. What is up with that? Now, I paused here for a very specific reason. Friends, those of you that are younger and starting out, and some of those of you that are still trying to get through life, and some of you that are even facing the twilight years in your life, you've had dreams and you have visions and you have things that you want to accomplish with whatever time you have left, whether short or long, that we're all in that boat together, amen? And when you have a dream and you share it out loud with somebody, isn't it amazing how the people come out of the woodwork to say, oh man, that's crazy. You'll never do that. That'll never happen. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed that in your life? Have you noticed that there's no shortage of people in your life that say, it can't be done? That's just the truth, is it not? Have you experienced that? There's no shortage of people that say, well, that's a cool dream and all, but I think it's more of a fantasy and you ought to give it up because it's nuts. Right? You've got lots of people that will tell you that your dream is no good, right? Well, I want to tell you something. This is going to sound hard, but I want you to hear me very clearly on this, especially those of you that have reached this milestone and you're getting ready for the next chapter of your life. Hear this very clearly. When you get somebody that says that to you, they are not your friend. They're not looking out for you. Now, don't misunderstand. They may think they are. They might think they are. They might be sincere and genuine in what they're saying. But if they're crushing your dream, well, they're not your friend. They're not your friend. And that's especially true if you're pretty convinced that God has given you this vision for your future. I'm here to tell you, I wouldn't be standing here in front of you if I wasn't convinced that God gave me this vision for my future, because on paper it was nuts. And there were a few people that would tell me that. You want to walk away from that job at Ball Hospital and go into ministry? That's crazy. What are you thinking? Right? But I couldn't not do it because I was convinced that God wanted me to do it. And so what I would suggest to you is that as you plan your future and you dream your dreams and you have your visions, then put them before the Lord and say, Lord, is this what you want me to do with my life? Because I see you at work in the world around me and I'd like to join you. And this is where I sense you calling me to. If that's true, give me the green lights. And when you get that, that's great. You go forward full speed ahead and don't look back. However, understand that even the most sincere and genuine people like Peter, and who can say that Peter didn't have Jesus' best interest at heart when he pulled him aside and said, Jesus, not so much on the crucifixion stuff. And he thought he was doing the right thing. But here's what Jesus says in response. Now, can you imagine how Peter would have taken this? In response, Jesus says, get behind me, Satan. You don't have the things of you do not have in mind the things of God, but the things of men. So Jesus very clearly said, Peter, get it. You're not crushing my dream. You're not stepping on my vision. You're not putting a damper on what I want to do. You're in very dangerous territory here, Peter, because you're messing with God. I'm not doing this because I want to do it. I'm not doing this because somehow it'll make me look good. I'm doing this because God demands it of me, and that's the only reason I'm doing it. And just because you have reservations doesn't mean I'm going to quit. You're going to be faced with those times. You're going to be faced with those choices. You're going to be faced one day with that time where somebody will say, it doesn't seem like the whole world will say, that path forward is nuts. But God is saying in your spirit, go, my daughter. Go, my son. I will be with you. I will be with you. The passage continues with some really interesting words as Jesus continues. As the crowd looks on, along with the disciples, Jesus said, here's some interesting words. Listen to these very carefully. If anyone would come after me, he must deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for me and for the gospel will save it. What good is it for a man to gain the whole world, yet forfeit his very soul? Or what can a man give in exchange for his soul? This has been the word of God for the people of God. Now, I thought it was interesting, and the next verse is really powerful too, and when most preachers preach on this text, they do the next verse too, but I wanted to stop where I stopped for a very specific reason. Right? There's one verse in that text that goes, if anyone would follow me, he must deny himself and pick up his cross daily and follow me. Now, from that verse has sprung a phrase in the English lexicon over the years, the cross we must bear. Familiar with that phrase? Anybody hear that phrase before? Anybody out there use that phrase? It's my cross to bear. His cross to bear, her cross to bear. Right? Now, it's important that we spend a little time on this, I think, because it has implications for this whole thing about mentors and so forth. The thing about this phrase is that it's a little, when we use it the way we use it, we tend to use it, it's a little out of context from what Jesus was trying to teach us. When you experience that phrase, either because you said it or because somebody said it to you, my cross to bear, it has the connotation of a burden that you have to carry, right? My deadbeat brother-in-law is living with us and we're going to have to support him. I guess that's my cross to bear. Right? I have a rebellious teenager. Not that any of you apply here, but I have this rebellious teenager and I've tried everything. I guess he or she is my cross to bear. So it has the connotation of a burden that you must carry. And that's not what Jesus was trying to teach us. When Jesus says those words about picking up your cross daily, denying yourself and following Him, he's not saying that you're going to have to bear burdens. Because honestly, what He's really saying is that the heavy lifting is God's, not yours anyway. The biggest burden that you have is to love God with all your heart, all your mind, all your soul, all your strength. What He's saying with that phrase is that when you pick your cross up, it's not about the burdens you bear, it's about the ministry that you accept. It's about the ministry that you accept. Because God has plans for all of us in terms of ministries that we can do. Some of us are called to do what I do. Some of us are called to be in front of a congregation and preach the gospel. Some people are called to teach Sunday school. Some people are called to teach in high schools like Danny Thornburg and like so many of you. Some people are called to be contractors. Some people are called to do other things. But God calls us all to ministry opportunities and gives us ministry responsibilities, whatever it is we do in life. And when we look at it that way, we don't have any burdens, do we? Now, there are things in our life that we do that make us tired. Amen? There are things that we have to do sometimes that are distasteful or distressing, right? But when we look at what we do in life as a ministry assignment that God has given us, we don't have burdens, we have joy. Okay? Joy. Whatever it is that we're asked to do, whatever it is we're called on to do, we have joy in the carrying out of this ministry. That's what Jesus is saying. So with that last verse, what good does it do? If you gain the whole world, if you strive and you grasp and you grind it out and you try to do all these things, to have all these material things and have all this material success, what good is any of it? And in the process of it, you have exchanged the joy of the Lord for all these series of burdens and chores and duties and obligations and things you've had to take shortcuts on compromising your character. You may wind up with that material success, but what do you really have in the end of it? You got nothing, right? Because in the end, it's meaningless. Friends, especially those of you that were up on this chancel a minute ago, choose your mentors wisely. Because there really are two ways to look at the world. There are two ways to look at the world. One is what we can take out of it. And there are lots of people that will mentor you on that one, right? I'm thinking of the Wall Street movie, right? Remember the Wall Street movie? Gordon Gekko, the main character, the most famous line from that movie. He's lecturing, he's kind of being mentored all these up-and-coming businessmen that are trying to, men and women that are trying to graduate from the Wharton School of Business. And what he says to them is pretty shocking. What he says is, remember this? Greed is good. There are lots of mentors that will teach you that. There are lots of mentors that will teach you to grab for all that you can get as soon as you can get it and go for all the gusto. Whatever pleasure, do not deny yourself. Whatever material objective, do whatever it takes to grab it. There are plenty of people in your life who will to counsel you in those ways. But then there's the other choice. The first choice is the world isn't yours for what you can take from it. But the other advice would be the world is a place where you have the opportunity to serve so that others might know what goodness is. And there aren't enough mentors that are prepared to do that. It's hard. It's hard to go down that road. It's hard to deny yourself when everything in you says, take it, it's yours, do it. But that little voice inside says, but it wouldn't be right. It wouldn't be the right thing to do. Don't do it. Lift a brother up. Give a sister a hand up. You might have to sacrifice something to do it, but do it because it's the right thing to do. And it will bring you joy. It will bring you joy in a way that no amount of money can bring. In a way that no material possession can bring. Just do it. Pick that kind of mentor to help you form who you are as a person. Right now, you are a potential human being, but you can be a great human being. My prayer for you is that God will bring those mentors into your life, and that you will have the wisdom and discernment to see that, and you'll hold on for dear life. Now, for the rest of you, didn't think I was going to let you off the hook, did you? For the rest of you, you have the opportunity to be one of those mentors. I don't think that in my relationship with Danny Thornburg that I had some aha moment and when I was 15 or 16 and said, this guy's my mentor. You know? I don't think there was ever a solid plan like that. And I think for most of you, earlier when I asked you to put that person's face before your memory and put that face on your mind and that name in your head, when you drew up that image, you could probably say the same thing. Whoever that person was for you, if you probably didn't say in your head, oh yeah, on March 31st, 1964, I asked this person to be my mentor. That probably didn't happen, right? But as you look back over that relationship, that person helped shape you, helped craft who you were as a person, and they helped you become who you were. Well, you can be that person for somebody else. What's more, God is calling you to be that person for somebody else. Now, you don't consciously plan to do it. It just kind of happens. But what I would ask you to do, what I pray that you do, would be to be open and have a sensitive spirit to those opportunities when they come into your life. Because, friends, they're coming. They're coming. That's just the way God works. But it's going to be hard. But I'd like to close with a couple of things. And one is thinking back to a sentence that seems to fit my first mentor, Danny Thornburg, and what he taught me and dozens of other people like me. Hard is good. Hard is good. I'd like to close with a poem by Robert Frost. Maybe some of you have heard it, but it just seems to fit. It seems to be a perfect way to close our time together this morning. But it's called The Road Not Taken. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. And being one traveler, long I stood and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other, just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for that the passing there had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lie in leaves no step or trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day. Yet knowing how way leads to way, I doubted that I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood and I took the one less traveled by. And that has made all the difference. That's a far more poetic way than any way I could say it. Robert Frost saying that heart is good. And Jesus tells us that heart is good. Following Jesus is not easy. It's not a piece of cake. And one of the most bitter lessons I've learned as a pastor and counseling particularly new Christians is in this way of faith that they've chosen, this worldview that they've chosen to embrace is that, and you think that now you're a Christian, you got it made, it's going to be easy street. Well, I just want to disabuse you of that notion because it's going to get a lot harder from this point forward. Because it's not easy. And it's becoming increasingly the road less taken, the road less traveled. But oh, friends, especially my younger friends, it makes all the difference. Please pray with me. Help us to always remember, oh God, that ultimately it is about you. Help us to see the exacting standards that you set for us as not high standards, but rather the minimum job requirements for what it is to be a fully developed human being. If we look at it that way, then there's joy in the journey. Help us to experience that joy today and every day. And all of God's people said, Amen. Friends, I'd like to rise. Let us close down our worship.
So much more
3 hours a week. And I think for no more than they practice, I think they do an awesome job. Can we thank them one more time? Thank you. Heart is good. Hang on to that. Hang on to that thought. Heart is good. You'll set your breathing. When you know that the journey is full of awesome challenges that threaten to overwhelm and run you over, just know that you don't have to do it alone. You're not there by yourself. That God goes with you every step of the way. Go from this place secure in that knowledge. Go from this place in peace. And all of God's people said, starting to file out, I want you to know that especially the graduates can come up in front for a quick picture. Also, there's refreshments in the back, and you don't have to be a graduate to partake. We'd like all of you to stay and enjoy the day with us. So stick around.